It's your boy Gamo Kiyosuke, Legion of Knicks, back here with another one here to talk about the New York Knicks' interest in Cleveland Cavaliers guard Collin Sexton. According to Shams of The Athletic, the Knicks are heavily interested in the Cleveland Cavaliers and Alabama guard, who just averaged 24.3 points a game, 4.4 assists, about 3.1 rebounds, 47.5% shooting from the field, 37.1% from three, 81.5% from the line, and 57.3% true shooting. Sexton still has one more year left on his rookie deal, and is reported that the Cavaliers do not want to offer him an extension, even though he's eligible for it this offseason. Granted, the Cavaliers will be in the draft, probably picking around that third spot. They don't move up. Have names like Mobley, as well as Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs will be available. So they will have some piece to pick. Now, regarding Collin Sexton, he is connected to the Knicks with ways of Leon Rose, as when he first entered the league or was entering the draft 2018. He did sign on with Austin Brown and Leon Rose of CAA, so there's definitely a connection there. Sexton's definitely one of the more productive guards in the NBA. However, his career is not without flaw, without some scars, without some criticism. Granted, he was on a bad team in Cleveland where he had so many coaches going in and out. Obviously, a bad front office, bad ownership, just a bad team all around. But he did have some talent around him. Isaac Okoro, Jared Allen coming through this year through the trade, as well as Darius Garland. But yeah, the so-called sex-gar or gar-sex, sex-land, anywho's, that connection has definitely not worked. And with a player with such superlative stats, you would have expected to see a little bit more winning. You would have expected to see a little bit more impact regarding the team going in a positive direction, but it hasn't truly worked out. Now, obviously, I don't want to put all the onus on him, but it seems to have been that, especially coming into the league, when he first started, there was some issues with some players regarding his game. Some players thought he was selfish, over-dribbled, thought that his play was a little bit too narrow. And obviously, things with his defense, obviously that's going to suffer. But they felt overall he had a low IQ style of play to his game. Coming from Alabama, wasn't necessarily a good shooter, was seen as more of an attacking guard. And so some of those instincts may have kept on with him. And according to The Athletic, it seems to have been that the front office was more keen on showing his value and trying to make good in that Kyrie Irving trade, especially after LeBron left. And so their plan, according to the article in Athletic, was to kind of play him, promote him, versus possibly hold him a little bit back, slowly develop him, try to get him more of a high IQ, maybe even more of a facilitating guard, even though, yes, the league is basically constituted of a bunch of scoring guards. But nevertheless, he's had some issues along the way in his very young career. Just on the surface, when you look at some of his statistics, granted, you look at him and say, well, he has a usage rate of 29.7%, but only assist ratio of like 22.6%. And when you look at some of the scoring guards in the league, whether it be De'Aaron Fox or Dame Lillard, who Dame Lillard has a usage rate of 31%, but he has a usage percentage, or excuse me, assist percentage, let me say, of 34.6%. I was talking about assist percentage when I mentioned that 22.6 assist ratio when I was speaking about Collin Sexton. But nevertheless, again, it's not the prettiest regarding his game. Yes, Collin Sexton, even with his quickness and his speed, he's still only an average isolation player, only averaging 34.8% from the field and 39.6% effective field goal shooting, ranking in the 40th percentile. He's an overall poor defender, and a lot of that stems from his lack of height and size. You could just look on all the categories defensively. He ranks poorly or below average throughout most of them. But on the flip side, this is a player who's shown vast improvements or proper or solid improvements over the year. I wouldn't kill him too much. Despite all the coaching changes, again, he ranks decently in the pick and roll. Has turned into an excellent spot-up shooter, despite the fact he came from Alabama shooting around like 33 or 34% in Alabama. This past season, shot 43.9% as a spot-up shooter and 58.6% effective field goal shooting as a spot-up shooter, which ranked in the 83rd percentile. Very rich from Collin Sexton. So you can't sit here and say that you haven't seen improvements. Can't say that he's not a hard worker regarding certain aspects of his game. I got to give him his credit in that regard. Now, some believe to get Collin Sexton, the Knicks would have to give up quickly on Obi Toppin and some group in the first rounders. And all those guys, I've seen some people say Kevin Knox. We obviously don't know what's going to happen. But if the Knicks are truly interested I don't think they should bet against themselves. They should definitely gauge the interest throughout the league and see who else is bidding for a guy like Collin Sexton. Again, a guy like Collin Sexton, 24 points a game, all the superlative play, and yet the Cavaliers feel like they don't want to build with this guy as a foundational piece. I'd have to have some hesitancy and say there has to be something going on there regarding maybe his intangibles, his approach to the game, something. And I did say he's a hard worker in regards to his game. Maybe he's not team. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They don't want to sign this guy. And I don't know personally. This is me asking you guys out there, when's the last time you saw a 24-point game, points a game player like Collin Sexton showing vast improvements? He's healthy, and he wasn't up for the rookie deal. And I understand people say, well, you have Jalen Suggs, you have Jalen Green. But I have 24 points a game, true shooting of 57%. And all this with Collin Sexton. Why am I not keeping this as a foundational piece? Okay, you got Darius Garland. If they're thinking that Darius Garland's better, granted, Darius Garland did average 17 points, shot 39% from 3, 6 assists a game, solid player, and they seem more of a guy who could play alongside another player. If Collin Sexton's that good, I'm just saying for Knicks fans, then I would think that the Cavaliers would definitely want to sign him and keep him as a foundational piece. You still don't know. You still know you have in Green. You don't know what you have in Jalen Suggs. As much as I love these guys, they're still relatively unproven. You know, I'll say that they're probably better than some of the people like Alfred Payton, but still relatively unproven. You have a 24-point score in Collin Sexton. I would think the Knicks want to keep him. Excuse me. That's crazy. Why would they want to kill him? So I don't know. And when you think about how he fits into Tom Thibodeau's system, yes, come out of Cleveland. Would he be able to truly develop into a premier guard? Some people see him better come off the bench. Some people just see him as a combo guard that he needs to play alongside another guard. With less usage, do his statistics suffer? Does his game complement guys like R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle? Again, I'm not saying that his only value here is to complement those guys, but does he help elevate the team? Is he a cog that can help us with his team that's kind of in a precarious position? Because you still have to see we have in R.J. Barrett, still have to see we have in Julius Randle. Because are you offering Julius Randle that max? Or are you trying to give him the extension and say extension or bust and be out of here? You know what I mean? So it depends. Depends on how he fits on the team. I'm not necessarily sure his fit. Now, granted, yes, he's better Alfred Payton, but we cannot compare every guard that might be suggested or might come up as an option to Alfred Payton. Alfred Payton is not a good standard, and he's not here anymore. And he was really just kind of caught in a weird position. He was not supposed to be the guard. He was not a long-term guard for the Knicks. When you think of, again, with his fit with the team, think about his defense, helper. Is he a guy that you always have to account for? Does he hurt the offense or the defense where once the secondary help comes, obviously the helper, the person coming to tag in, let's say the pick and roll, does that outside get even more exploited? Now, granted, yes, the Knicks had a good percentage overall defending the threes, but we allowed a lot of threes this season. I believe we're probably around like at least the bottom 10, I believe, in threes allowed this season. And again, I'm not the biggest fan, but can Tom Thibodeau open up his game using pick and rolls, obviously using the horn sets where he can basically emulate what Derrick Rose is doing, driving off each of the elbows, kicking out to the outside guy, attacking the basket, kicking it to the guy rolling down to the basket with him. The triangle set, especially you saw when Julius Randle was down, does Collin Sexton have the ability to either flash in the middle, even though he's 6'6", 6'1", but yeah, guys like Bruce Brown doing that. So flash in the middle, facilitate that guy in the middle, not force stupid shots, which I've seen Collin Sexton do. Force some bad shots, trying to slash to the basket, trying to take on 2-3 defenders in the paint. Can Tom Thibodeau open up the offense? Now, you've seen Tom Thibodeau try to use things like the Spain pick and roll as well. Can he utilize Collin Sexton to a high degree to facilitate those type of sets? As a starter for the Knicks, remains to be seen. Again, I'm not the biggest fan. I like guards who have a higher level of IQ. And granted, he's very young, but I just feel that if you don't come into the game with that high level of IQ or court awareness or that foundation, it's typically hard to develop court awareness as a point guard, which to me, again, is the hardest position. I'm biased. I'll admit that CP3 is my favorite point guard, and I'm trying not to compare each and every guard to CP3. That's unfair. But again, high level IQ, and I have to see that kind of burgeoning. Even if it's not there coming from college, not high level, I have to see it burgeoning. And sometimes, I'm sorry, with the games I've seen with Collin Sexton, I haven't seen it. I need guards who are able to control the pace. Even if they are scoring guards, I need to control the pace, make the right shots, not force bad shots, be able to draw fouls, which Collin Sexton, I believe, did a decent job at regarding his free throw draw rate. But again, control the pace, be able to facilitate when needed, be able to score and pick their spots on the floor when needed. And so, yeah, it's hard. I know people say, well, look at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's let's be honest, Jimmy Butler's a rare example. Jimmy Butler's one of those psychotic hard workers who basically was like, he came up through defense and through honing his craft under Tom Thibodeau, becoming an all-around combo guard who picks his spots perfectly. He's actually the exception versus the norm. So I can't really say and compare him to Jimmy Butler like that. And again, people say, okay, look at Trae Young. He got criticized and not marginalized, but much maligned when he came in, Ice Trae and whatnot. Obviously, he was playing under Lloyd Pierce, which is not a good coach for him. But then, yes, you can say Trae Young definitely developed. But Trae Young coming from college was averaging eight assists a game. He still had that court vision and court awareness. Yes, he was taking these ridiculous threes from deep, trying to be Steph Curry light, but he still had that high level of court awareness in his back pocket. And on the flip side, when you think about young players playing Tom Thibodeau, who's a demanding coach, is a coach who demands discipline, focus, high level of effort on defense, situational awareness. Look at a guy like Cat. As talented as Cat is, Cat did not work under Tom Thibodeau. For all the guys who worked under Tom Thibodeau, the Zach LaVines, Zach LaVine did get traded, but he became more of a point guardish, point two-ish guardish under Tom Thibodeau. All these guys who flourished on him, Cat was not able to. So I'm not sure, man. I'm not even sure what I'd give up for this guy. If I had my way, man, I'm taking Kyle Lowry, $20 million per, $40 million for 2 years as a stopgap option. I'm drafting my son, Deuce McBride, Miles McBride in the second round from West Virginia. He's basically, and some people compare him to Kyle Lowry. I'm taking those guys. I need high IQ players. Miles McBride does offer you defense, but he also can hit from the outside. He can also attack the basket. His game isn't the most flashiest, but he's very effective. He had some underrated games and shut down Trey Mann in the first half of that Florida game. Go watch that game. But yeah, I just don't know, man. And let's be honest, this could all be a diversion. The Knicks brass does not talk. And for all of a sudden, no offense to Shams or anything like that, now they have the inside flavor on the Knicks. Knicks could be sending this out to send diversion. And if they're doing that, salute to them, and that is smart. That is extremely smart, because if they're doing this as diversion and it somehow leads to the Knicks drafting my son James Bouknight, salute to Leon Rose and all them dudes, man. But on the flip side, also, it could be the Cavaliers trying to use lukewarm interest by the Knicks, beef it up to try to get other teams to come in and try to bid for Collin Sexton before the draft, because his value will probably be highest before the draft, before guys get drafted and get into these teams. So that could be a ploy by the Cleveland Cavaliers to say, hey, the Knicks maybe have lukewarm interest, but you know what? Let's see what other teams might jump on this opportunity, engage from there. So the Knicks may not even be that interested where they're heavily interested like that, because, again, this front office does not talk. They don't. But this one is tough, man. This one is tough. I'm not the biggest fans of this guy. But on the flip side, could he develop under Tibbs? Possibly. Point guard is the hardest position to me in the NBA. And Collin Sexton, as talented as he is, he may not have the IQ to be at play. Maybe he might be stuck in his ways. Granted that given that he's scoring so much, he's been so productive on the surface level. He might be stubborn in that regard. But on the flip side, he might change his game, compromise his game, dip his stats to fit the team. But on the flip side, he may not, because it's like, look, I'm trying to get a max. I don't want some so-called, I want the max. I think I'm a max player. So we will see. But guys, until next time, it's your boy Gamer Keisuke. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the likes. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know, because I've been getting killed on Twitter. So if you want to kill me here. Fair enough. I have no problems with that. Leave your comments. I'll definitely see you guys in the next video. Peace, Lou. God bless. We out of here.